India has grounded its entire Tejas fighter jet fleet. Every single one of the 32 jets that have been delivered so far, all of them are sitting on the ground right now. And this came after the third major crash involving the aircraft, once again during landing, once again with the pilot barely making it out safely. Now when something happens once, it's an incident. When it happens twice, you start asking questions. When it happens 3 times, that's a pattern. And that's exactly where we are with the Tejas program today. So let me walk you through what actually happened, what's going wrong with this aircraft, and honestly, what I think this means for India's air power going forward. The latest crash happened earlier this month at a key Indian Air Force base. The pilot was coming back from a training sortie, so nothing unusual, just a routine mission coming in to land. And during that landing, the aircraft went down. It sustained severe damage and will most likely be written off completely. The pilot escaped without serious injury, which is honestly the one thing to be grateful for here. But the jet is gone. Now the aircraft that crashed was one of the 32 single-seat Tejas jets that Hindustan Aeronautics Limited has already delivered to the Indian Air Force. Think of HAL as India's state-owned aircraft manufacturer. They built the Tejas, they deliver it, and they're responsible for its development. And right now, every jet they've handed over is grounded while the Air Force runs extensive checks and investigations into what went wrong. But here's the thing, this is not the first time we've been here. The very first Tejas crash happened on March 13, 2024. That aircraft went down during final approach, again during landing, while it was returning from a firepower demonstration near Jaisalmer. The pilot ejected safely. That was crash number 1. And now we're at crash number 3. 3 major accidents, and if you look at where they're happening, the landing phase keeps coming up. That's not a random detail. That matters. So what's actually causing this? The Indian Air Force has pointed to safety concerns with the aircraft's flight control system. Specifically, there are reported issues with something called departure protection inside that system. Now let me explain what that means in plain terms because it sounds technical but the concept is actually very simple. Imagine you're driving a car on ice, and your car has a stability control system that automatically corrects the wheels before you spin out. Departure protection in a fighter jet does something similar. It's the system that prevents the aircraft from entering flight conditions the pilot can't recover from. It steps in before things go wrong. And if that system has problems, the pilot is essentially flying without a safety net, especially during low-speed, high-workload phases of flight, phases like landing. So when you hear that the flight control system and its departure protection have multiple issues, and you look at where these crashes are happening, the picture starts to become a lot clearer. Now you might be wondering, if there were known issues with the flight control system, why was the fleet still flying? That's a fair question, and honestly I don't have a clean answer for that. What I can tell you is that the Air Force has now grounded the fleet, which tells you that whatever the investigations are finding, it's serious enough to stop all flying operations entirely. And then there's the bigger procurement problem sitting underneath all of this. Back in January 2021, India placed an order for 83 HAL Tejas aircraft worth $6 billion. On top of that, the Air Force has also ordered 180 of the more advanced Mk1A variant, that's the upgraded version of the Tejas with improved avionics, radar, and weapon systems. But those deliveries have been delayed. Multiple deadlines have been missed. The aircraft that was supposed to upgrade the current fleet is simply not arriving on time. So think about what that actually means. The jets India has right now are grounded. The jets India ordered to replace them are stuck in delay. That's a real gap. And in my view, that's the part of this story that doesn't get enough attention. It's not just about one crash or even 3 crashes. It's about whether India can realistically count on this aircraft as the backbone of its indigenous fighter program when deliveries are slipping and the existing fleet is being grounded over safety issues. There's also the cost question, which was being raised even back in April 2021, whether the Tejas Mk1A is really worth $77 million per aircraft. At that time it was a debate. Today, with 3 crashes, a grounded fleet, flight control system concerns, and delayed deliveries all piling up at the same time, that question deserves a very honest answer from HAL and from the Indian government. To be fair, the Tejas program represents something genuinely important for India. Building an indigenous fighter jet from scratch is extraordinarily difficult. Very few countries have done it. And the ambition behind the program is real. India doesn't want to be permanently dependent on foreign suppliers like Russia or the West for its frontline combat aircraft. That strategic logic makes sense. But ambition and execution are two different things. And right now, the execution side of this program is facing its most serious test yet. What happens next depends a lot on what the investigation finds. If the flight control system issues can be fixed through a software update, then the fleet could be back in the air relatively quickly. But if it requires deeper redesign work, that timeline extends significantly, and the pressure on HAL and on the Mk-1A delivery schedule only grows. Honestly, I think the next few months are going to be critical for how seriously this program is taken, not just inside India but by the international defense community watching from the outside.